Hello and welcome to the News9 Plus Show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform News9 Plus and News9 Live. We begin with our top focus tonight, which is the JN.1 variant of COVID-19, which is increasingly spreading in India and across the world. And in fact, the co-chairman of the National Indian Medical Association COVID Task Force says that 30% of all patients with influenza-like illnesses who are tested have turned out to be COVID positive in the Kochi region of Kerala state in a span of just about 24 hours. He also says that COVID cases have spread into the community and that if tested properly, the variant would be found all over India, not just Kerala. However, the question is it a major cause of concern because it is spreading faster than any other COVID variant? How fast is it spreading and how infectious is this JN.1 variant? And to understand it better, we have Dr. D.S. RANA, former member, National COVID-19 Task Force and chairperson, Board of Management at the Sri Ganga Ram Hospital. Now joining us here on the News9 Plus Show, Dr. D.S. RANA, thank you so much. I'm going to begin by asking a very simple question, just to put this into perspective for all the viewers watching this show, and that is, how infectious is the JN.1 variant and how much of India is affected already?
So right now I don't have any experience, but what we are reading, that this disease is quite infectious and the symptoms are a little different. And as far as virulence is concerned, we don't have exact data that whether it's very virulent or less virulent. But you know, last time also things started somewhere from South Kerala and then later on spread to the whole country. And since it's a viral disease, probably it will not remain confined only to Kerala or southern India. Sooner or later it would come to northern part of India also, and once testing will be started. So I think we'll be knowing more about the disease from ICMR or from these authorities about its infectious portion and virulence portion.
All right, I just want to ask you quickly, has anybody come with that kind of symptoms that JN.1 variant has to the Gangaram hospital, for example?
No, we have not seen any patient in Gangaram so far.
Okay, so no patients in Delhi or specifically at the Gangaram hospital. But tell us, there are some who are already calling for mask protocols. Some schools in Karnataka have issued mask protocols. Is it time that people just start masking up, whether they are being told to or not?
I think let us wait for an advisory from the government, because they will be deciding about it. Once that is there, then we will follow that, Because ultimately, in any case, the prophylaxis parameter will remain same, maintain distance, wear mask and wash your hands, etc. Those will still remain, but we have to wait for advisory from the government,
Okay, you're saying wait for the advisory
anyway,
from the...
if you are wearing mask, otherwise quite alright, okay. A lot of people I saw today wearing masks, that is fine.
Okay, but they say that these days most people are wearing masks because of the pollution and not necessarily COVID-19 variant. But the question I'm asking is that, last time around when COVID first came, we thought we were a little late to react to COVID, to clamp down, in terms of travel and other things. But the question here is, can we then this time around learn from those lessons and at least as citizens be more vigilant and start taking precautions before a final advisory comes from the government?
Yeah, I think people, after listening to news already, I have seen today, many people are wearing masks. They have, not because of pollution, but because of this fear of COVID. But in any case, people rise here only once things are there.
The question, the only thing is that this is considered a sub-variant of Omicron variant, which is BA.2.86. This is considered a sub-variant.
Yeah.
How different is it from Omicron? Is it very different from Omicron? Is it a new variant of its own, with its own properties and a mind of its own?
So far we know that this is more infectious as compared to the Omicron, this variant. And as far as, respiratory symptoms like a cough or bad throat, they are less. And probably in many patients because in pneumonia also. But there are various reports as far as virulence is concerned. Some reports we are hearing that is very virulent and very dangerous and causes death, but I don't know, we don't have data. This data had to come from authenticated source, not from something like newspaper or WhatsApp, once the health department is going to bring some data, that will be authentic data.
Okay, the chief of the IMA COVID task force has said that 30% of patients with influenza-like illnesses and influenza-like symptoms were tested and they turned out to be COVID positive. So, this JN.1 variant, how similar is it to, what kind of similar symptoms it gives like influenza?
After all, this is a virus and it is influenza-like virus. So all these produce those symptoms, that is well known. They are going to produce influenza-like illness only. But the nature of illnesses are later on, the effects are different,
Okay.
So I think you just wait for a day or two and probably a lot of things we will be learning about this disease.
Okay, so no need to press the alarm bells as of now, you would say?
I don't think so.
Okay, you don't think so? That's right. Dr. D.S. Rana there. Thank you so much for taking time out and calming us down and calming all the viewers watching this broadcast down. There is no need to press the alarm bells as yet when it comes to the JN.1 variant of COVID. Our second lead story tonight is the passing of 3 crucial criminal code bills in the Indian Parliament. These 3 new bills will replace the already existing IPC or the Indian Penal Code, the CRPC and the Indian Evidence Act. And the big headline emerging out of these new criminal code bills is the fact that doctors will be excused from any kind of criminal prosecution for deaths arising due to medical negligence cases. To understand this latest introduction of new criminal codes in the country, we have Mr. Ashok Bagaria now joining us in the studio. Ashok, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. First, let's put things into context. These 3 bills are replacing existing, already extremely popular things like IPC. Everybody quotes the IPC and CRPC and Indian Evidence Act, not that famous probably. But of course, all the talk is around the fact that doctors now don't have to face criminal prosecution if there is a death caused because of their medical negligence.
Well, you're right. That is what the Union Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, said in the Parliament. He said that the government was in the process of bringing in an amendment in the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, which is the new Indian Penal Code, where there will be an exemption for medical practitioners for causing death by negligence. Now, what this really means is that, let me put it into a perspective a little bit, is that under the Indian Penal Code, which is the penal code which exists as of date, because the new bill has to be yet passed by the Rajya Sabha and notified, because unless it is notified, it will not be a law. So, under the Indian Penal Code, medical practitioners are guilty of causing death due to negligence, and they can be penalized under section 304A of the Indian Penal Code. Now, what we've seen is that in the recent past, there has been a sudden surge in criminal cases against medical practitioners, basically the kin of the patients, leveling allegations of negligence and gross negligence and causing death to the patients. And those cases are being mounted on medical practitioners. We saw this during COVID time also, that there was large-scale outcry, and relatives of the victims were blaming the doctors, saying that the doctors were responsible. They did not give due attention, or their rash and negligent action has resulted in the death of the patient. So now, under the new penal code, I would want to call it the new penal code, not the Indian Penal Code, the new penal code, says that medical practitioners are exempt from any sort of a criminal liability. So what has happened is that causing death by negligence for medical practitioners has been decriminalized. So here, what really happens is that there has been a long-standing demand by the Indian Medical Association, and they had in fact on 1st of December written a letter to the Prime Minister Modi and the Union Home Minister, saying that considering that the Government of India was in the process of drafting and redrafting the Penal Code, the Procedure Code and the Evidence Act, there was a demand from the medical practitioners that this whole thing of holding them criminally liable for the death of a patient should be decriminalized. And that is exactly what the Union Home Minister said yesterday while introducing the bill in the House, saying that this was being done after they received a letter from the Indian Medical Association.
We have Dr. J.A. Jayalal, former National President of the Indian Medical Association, now joining us here on the News9 Plus Show. We have Mr. Anil Mishra, Advocate, Supreme Court of India, also with us. I'm going to begin with Mr. Jayalal. Talk to us in terms of how has the reception been from the doctors community, from the medical community, from Indian Medical Association with the introduction of this new criminal code which decriminalizes death due to negligence by doctors.
I mean, the whole medical fraternity in the country is welcoming this decision of the government of India. They are very kind enough to understand the situation of the medical fraternity in dealing with the patients coming within very emergency situation. When a person is coming in a very bad moribund state, whether it is an accident, whether it is an obstetric condition, or whether it is in a very difficult situation of cardiac failure, the doctor has to sweat it out and do the maximum possible to save the life. In the bargain, and the life is not in the hands of the doctors, and whatever we do, in spite of all our good attempts, the patients can die. But unfortunately, what is happening when a patient is dying due to extreme conditions of the disease, and the doctors are sued, doctors are brought to the court, doctors are brought to the police station, and they are humiliated, they are ridiculed. And very recently, we saw in Rajasthan, Archana Sharma, the lady doctor, a long-standing serving lady doctor has to commit suicide at the intents of the police filing the case under the 304A. So at this moment, and we have appealed to the government, and we have our own system. The people are committing under the Hippocratic oath, and they will do the maximum possible to save the life. And we also understand the autonomy and the maleficence, the concerns on the doctor. So no doctor at any attempt will try to do harm to the patient who is coming. But many times, in spite of all our efforts, and we cannot save all the individuals. When the patient comes in an accident and comes in a very moribund state, it will not be possible. So putting them under the suspicious death, for every one doctor who is being subjected to this allegation, hundreds of doctors saying, why should we do and why should we suffer in a case of emergency? Let us refer the case. Let us not take what is needed to do. Only if I touch, I will get into the trouble of the 304A. If I can say that I am not competent enough to do, yes, but unfortunately, the many patients are dying. And this is a grave situation. I'm thankful to the government of India for understanding the situation and saying that, yes, if they are doing a criminal negligence also, we have a criminal negligence where when you are operating on a wrong foot, when you are operating on a wrong patient, or committedly or blatantly you are doing a mistake, yes, they will be punished. But then a medical negligence, when just because a patient has succumbed to death, the doctor cannot be subjected to the criminalization. And that is what the government has come out. So we wholeheartedly welcome that. But we assure the community, we assure the entire people that we will be sticking on to our principles and code of ethics, and we will try our level best to save thousands of people who are coming to us and to do maximum possible extent to save their life.
Okay, stay with us, Dr. Jayalal. We also have Anil Mishra, Advocate, Supreme Court of India, with us. Anil Mishra, my simple question to you is this: how do you view these the provisions of the new criminal code? Is it a matter of cutting out unnecessary litigation against doctors, or even unfair litigation against doctors, or does it let the medical community go scot-free in case of a death?
Good afternoon. In my view, the amendment as proposed by the Home Minister is in line with the judgments passed by the Supreme Court. So most of the provisions in the new Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023 are the main purpose have been to bring the law in accordance with the judgments, interpretations of the Supreme Court by far on different subjects. So even this amendment is in line with what Supreme Court has said in Jacob Matthews case. Also, if you see the definition of good faith all over, good faith is something which is done in good faith, which is like literal meaning if you can take. So nobody can, it has to be, you have to have a faith in your doctor. Otherwise, things would really go to chaos, as we have seen in the recent times. In fact, one example I will place before you is the illustration to section 26 of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. The illustration says that a surgeon who has operated upon someone with consent, and if there is a death, the surgeon will not be held liable for such offense. So the indication was already there in the act. Now, when the Honorable Home Minister has said it in the Parliament, so it will. The amendment is required, and I fully support that. In fact, the legal community also supports this.
Well, Mr. Mishra, there's a question for you. Considering that there's been large-scale commercialization of medical practice that has been that we are witnessing in the country, there's large-scale commercializations of hospitals. Now, what is really happening is that we agree that there are cases of negligence, there are black sheep in every profession, there could be black sheep in your profession too, but to give a blanket ban, to say that okay, no medical professional will be held guilty of criminal negligence, does it not amount to creating a class and giving them a free pass?
Hi. I would tend to disagree with you that this is giving a free pass, because see, removing the doctor's liability from the criminal negligence doesn't mean that they are out of the purview of other provisions. For example, the culpable homicide provision, the murder provision. So if there are cases, if you read Jacob Matthews' case, where they have defined, they have upheld that to bring the negligence to the doctor's area, it has to be gross negligence. It cannot be a simple negligence, gross negligence of a higher degree. So therefore, doctors are not going scot-free. The black sheep among the doctors are not going scot-free. Please be assured.
Okay.
They can be tried under other provisions.
Fair enough, fair enough. You talk about professions and they say always never lie to either your doctor or your lawyer. If you need to, save yourself. We've heard it from the lawyer. Let's hear it from a doctor as well. Tell us, the fears in the minds of people watching this show. Every time you go to a hospital, the bill that the hospital rakes up at the end of it, how much can you trust the doctors over there? There's so much because of the excessive commercialization of medical practices in this country. So in that sense, I just want to understand. Fair enough, criminal prosecution is a bit much, but there are other ways in which you can try these doctors or in court. From the medical community, what kind of reassurance we can expect now that you've got what you wanted from the government?
Yeah, I fully agree on you. But only one thing you must remember: when I just flight from Delhi to Trivandrum, it cost us 43,000 rupees for me. The normal ticket is only 7,000. It is not the fault of the pilot. It is not the fault of me traveling, but it is a company which is doing that. Many times when what is coming, the corporatization of the hospital has made increase in the fare of the prices. But if the patient was willing and going for a treatment to the family doctor who is nearby, or the doctor who is serving in the government hospital or the primary health center nearby, or an expert who is in that area, definitely the cost will not go to this extent. If you see anywhere in the corporate hospital, the cost is raised because of the accommodation, because of the 5-star facilities available. It is for the facilities and the paraphernalia associated with that. But surgical procedure or the doctor fee, I think there is very, very nominal increase. And even now, you go to any village in any part of the country, 200 rupees, 300 rupees is the fees a doctor is claiming. And we cannot say that the doctor's fees are increasing alarmingly. Secondly, as the advocate has very rightly said, the gross negligence, they need to be punished. And nowhere Indian Medical Association or any doctors will come and say that this doctor has done this grave mistake and he should be escaped. And they should be punished. Our legal law has a clear-cut definition for that. 302A, only 304A only they are talking about that. But when it is a culpable homicide, definitely doctor is committed and he needs to be penalized. But unnecessarily the doctors are penalized because there is the thin line is separating that. In Jacob Matthews case, Justice Lagoti and Ganguly, all they were said, there must be an expert opinion should be obtained. The expert opinion should say, yes, there is a prima facie evidence to say that this doctor has done a mistake, then they can be punished, they can be penalized. But predominantly, just by the instant that somebody has died, if the doctor is called to the police station and threatened and ridiculed, and that is a wrong thing. As you have asked, on behalf of the Indian Medical Association, which is the body having 4 lakhs doctors, we assure that we are very strict on the code of ethics. We are continuously following the Hippocratic oath which we have taken, and we will assure yourself our medical fraternity will do our best to safeguard the humanity. You just remember in the COVID time, 2,349 doctors died in the forefront on treating thousands of corona patients. And if the doctor community can, to this level, do a sacrifice, even in the Kargil war, we lost only 350 soldiers. But if that is the level that we can sacrifice, and we will definitely assure you, we will do our best to safeguard. And we believe, prima non nocirum, do no harm is the first call to every doctor, and we will adhere to that. We once again thank the government of India for their understanding of the situation of the doctor and doing this good gesture to the medical fraternity.
Right, good point you make over there, the number of doctors' lives that were lost during COVID. But the question also is that, even at that COVID time, there was lots of talk about how do you protect the doctors, because you had, family members, relatives, attacking doctors going on strike because they didn't have enough security. That is also a simultaneous issue that we need to deal with, isn't it, Mr. Mishra?
Yes. There have been instances, there have been incidences where doctors were beaten up, they were assaulted by the relatives, and these cases have been viewed by the government, be it the central government or a state government. They have taken strict measures in this regard. However, to add to the thing which the doctor said, I would also put a word of caution to it, that there has to be a code of conduct also for the doctors. For example, every day we are getting new procedures for there have been advances in the medical procedures. So, one, legally the consent has to be voluntary. The consent has to be taken and made to understand to the patient by his near and dear one and the doctor. And secondly, any procedure which is undertaken by the doctor has to be balanced on the scale that whether the risk factor outweighs the beneficial factor. So both sides have to take care of that. This amendment has not come, but I am given to believe that the standing committee report mentions that a separate act regarding the medical professional shall come or is in the pipeline, called Medical Professional Act. So maybe that will cover all these.
Okay, interesting, isn't it? Even as you wonder how doctors can safeguard our health, there is a need to safeguard doctors' health, isn't it, Mr. Bagaria?
Well, there's no denying the fact that doctors do a yeoman service to the people. There's no disagreement on the fact that there will be differences, there will be bitterness on the part of the relatives who lose their near and dear ones. However, at the same time, to target a medical practitioner who conducted the treatment in good faith and did it best to save the life, when that doesn't happen, the doctors or the medical practitioners are at the wrong side of the stick. They are assaulted, they are beaten, they are dragged in the hospitals.
And before the new bills, they can face criminal prosecution.
Yeah. They also face criminal prosecution. They have to go to the courts, the thanas, whenever they are called by the cops. So undoubtedly, there's no denying the fact that some sort of a protection needs to be done. But my only reservation was with the fact that like every profession has a black sheep, this protection should not extend to the black sheep.
Okay, here is keeping our fingers crossed that these new criminal codes that have come out doesn't protect the black sheep, but I'm afraid we'll have to wrap up this discussion on that front. I'm going to thank Ashok Bagaria for taking time out to be with us in the studio. Thank you, Dr. J. Jayalal, former National President of the IMA, and of course, Mr. Anil Mishra, Advocate of the Supreme Court. Thank you both of gentlemen for taking time out to be with us here on the News9 Plus Show. The Dunkey network, or the Dunkey route, is taken by youngsters in Punjab, Haryana and Gujarat, and it involves a lot of risks as they have to go days without any food, traversing through forests, rivers and on seas, avoiding authorities. This illegal route, despite the threats and often undesired ends, is popular among Indian youth who want to go abroad for a better life and, more importantly, to pursue the American dream. And we here in News9 are running a special documentary on News9 Plus. Take a look.
मैं तो चलिया विदेश
No, it's not a story of diversity in India. It's about a burning desire to leave the country, whatever it takes.
जो मिट्टी वाला जो टंकी है ना जे इंग्लैंड में है सभी और कनाडा में भी है जी सभी फैमिली। साथ वाली बाइट में है वो इंग्लैंड में है अभी कि वो जो बाज बैठा हो ना जहाँ ईगल, वो लड़का डिपोर्ट होकर आया ऐसे अब 20 साल बाद।
They polish their English and sometimes adapt a British or American twang.
जासू, bonjour, bonjour, hola.
My name is Surina. I want to go to apply for Australia.
To earn enough for a luxurious life.
बाजी मैं तो चलिया कनाडा
But this dream comes at a price. Often dreamers end up paying for it with their lives.
Whenever anything happens, right, there will be very dark underbelly of it.
You're aware of these donkey routes and donkers where people are getting money, selling their lands, putting things in mortgage in India and giving it to people who are acting as middlemen and consultants to ship them to various countries.
Now, based on this fact, the Dunkey network is the brand new Shah Rukh Khan starrer directed by Rajkumar Hirani, Dunkey, which has hit theatres this Thursday. To understand whether Shah Rukh Khan can deliver a hat-trick of hits this year after Pathaan and Jawan, we have a couple of very special people joining us here on the News9 Plus Show. We have famous film reviewer Mr. Raja Sen and Ms. Kaveri Bamzai joining us here on the News9 Plus Show. Kaveri, Raja, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. I'm going to begin with Raja Sen, who has incidentally watched the film already, and that's the reason why we're beginning with him, no other reason. Raja, talk to us. What is your hot take on the film? Because everybody's waiting for reactions. I'll ask a simple question. Is it going to be a hat trick for Shah Rukh Khan at the box office?
I don't think so. I don't think this film is going to connect with audiences in the same way that his last two films have. I think there is a lot of trying too hard from Shah Rukh Khan. Somehow Shah Rukh Khan and Rajkumar Hirani, neither of them are showing their magic in this film. The combination doesn't seem to be working. The film loses its point that it's trying to make. You're talking about a documentary series that you guys at News9 are running. I have a feeling that will be far more interesting than the film that Mr. Hirani and Mr. Khan have given us.
Okay. I just to ask you another question before I go to Kaveri. Did you enjoy Pathan and Jawan? Which one was your favorite amongst Pathan and Jawan?
I like Jawan more. I watched Jawan 3 times in the theaters.
Fantastic.
I think
it's my favorite too,
Yes. So yeah, Jawan was great, and I think Jawan had something to say. It was a very masala film, but it had, it packaged a political message as well. I think this film is very confused in trying to say something, and it doesn't really make its point strongly enough. It tries too hard to make you cry, and in the process, everything dries up.
Okay, trying too hard is the simple review from Raja Sen. If you were to write a full-page review, you would concise it 2 words, 3 words, trying too hard. From SRK, trying too hard, to Rajkumar Hirani, trying too hard, to the movie Dunkey, trying too hard. Kaveri Bamzai is with us. Kaveri, you've seen so many of these, discussions come up, over the course of your long career as a film reviewer. The question is, will Dunkey work at the box office? And the other question is, Shah Rukh Khan is considered the knight in shining armor for Bollywood, saving Bollywood with 2 blockbusters this year. How do you view Dunkey releasing in this environment?
Well, first, I don't agree that Shah Rukh Khan alone has saved Bollywood this year. I think there have been a lot of people who've done that. You've had the surprising success of Gadar, which everyone seems to ignore, as the first Gadar was ignored as well. It did much better than Lagan at the box office, but people seem to have erased it from their memories. But obviously, there was a huge subset of people who had wanted to watch Gadar 2, and obviously they came back. There was a touch of nostalgia there. Animal has done very well for whatever reasons, whether it tapped into the male insecurity or whether it tapped into the sort of simmering rage that we see in society, but people are unable to express. Jawan, Pathan. So they've all done very well. So I don't think it's Shah Rukh Khan alone who has saved Bollywood. I think Bollywood, after a couple of years of trying too hard and trying to see what the South industry, Southern film industries are doing, has figured out what people want to watch. And as Raja said so well, it is masala, but with a touch of message, which Jawan delivered in spades. And I think that is really what works. And violence, but well-packaged violence, as we saw in Animal, which may as well have been KGF1 or KGF2. It had the same kind of tenor. So I think it is Bollywood itself rediscovering its roots and rediscovering its mojo, rather.
All right. The reason why I kept harping on SRK, Kaveri, is because 2,000 crore films, 2, not 1. In 1 year. It hasn't happened with a major Bollywood hero in recent times. Yes, nobody's denying the success of Gadar 2. But how many times have you seen a Bollywood hero walk in 1 year, deliver 1,000 crore plus films back to back? And Dunkey too, with the kind of promotion and the expectations, could just do better than what the actual movie is.
But don't forget that he's been absent from screens for about 4 to 5 years. So there is, of course, the longing to see him back on screens. And the last few movies he did were totally underwhelming, not his kind of movies at all. I think he was experimenting, trying to see where he would fit. But I think now, at the ripe old age of 57, 58, he's discovered that action is the way to go. As Salman Khan could have told him 10 years ago with Dabangg. But I think he and Salman are sort of, proving the point that action heroes really don't need an age. They're ageless.
Fair enough. You're talking about Salman Khan, but I think Shah Rukh Khan took his lessons from Kamal Hassan and Rajinikanth more recently with Vikram and Jailer. But we will leave it at that. We can continue discussing this with Kaveri.
And Mohanlal and Mammootty. Mohanlal and Mammootty, who've been there for the longest time, doing all kinds of cinema in the Malayalam film industry and excelling.
Yep, absolutely. He's taking inspiration from the South is the larger point we can possibly take. Kaveri Bamzai, I would love to continue chatting with you on this one, but I'm afraid we've completely run out of time here. Thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. And Raja Sen, waiting to see your full review of Dunkey soon. But for now, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on the News9 Plus Show. And with that, we have completely out of time. But one important programming note before we wrap things up, an important documentary dropping tonight on News9 Plus. You can watch all that and more on News9 Plus by downloading the app on the Google Play Store or the App Store. Thank you so much for watching. This is Krishna Kumar signing off.
People love Shah Rukh Khan because he exudes and also craves for so much of love.
He always sets these milestones. Breaking records is his habit.
His confidence in his abilities and his belief of his destiny is unshakable.
Wherever he went, people would go crazy.
Streaming now on News9 Plus. Download now.